For more than 100 years, First Choice Bank has provided dedicated community banking to North Mississippi. The banking products and services you need when you need them. At First Choice, you're our priority. Make First Choice your choice for banking.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and an active last half hour for some of us here in North Mississippi. We'll get into that here in a second. I'm talking about folks there in Holly Springs. For the rest of us, a pretty calm evening, and that's how it'll be for the rest of our evening plans. So yes, there is still a few showers for some. We're not done with that rainfall just yet for our Monday evening, and more isolated chances sticking around in that extended forecast, talking about into our Tuesday, into our Wednesday, with some more chances by the weekend. And of course, this time at 6. What we're going to be doing is tracking the tropics, because we are expecting our next development. I'm going to expect it to develop here very soon. So we'll have the latest details on that here coming up, Mississippi Live Weather at 6, tracking all of that here in the Room to Room Weather Center. What we're going to start with is the first 12. 7 p.m., still around that 10% range with our rain coverage, 83 degrees. 10 p.m. rises to about 20%. That's as that disturbance continues to move through northwest Mississippi, just continues to backbuild just a bit, with more expected as we get into those overnight hours. So it's not that typical summer-like pattern where it's mid to late afternoon and then dry overnight. No, we're keeping those chances overnight, but only about 20% coverage for a large portion of us, not getting a drop. And that's the unfortunate part about 20% coverage. Mid 60s heading into our morning commute, so it's still going to be that mild start to the day despite that rain coverage being in the area. Now, I had mentioned that it's going to be a calmer forecast for some. Well, Macon, you're included in that calmer forecast because no rain showers even close to Noxubee County, 88 degrees, so still getting some of that cooler air as a result of that northeast wind. So hey, you'll take it. You're not complaining one bit. But for folks out there towards the Rolling Fork area, there was a great shot of those showers moving on through. But I mentioned that these showers are very cyclical, meaning that they increase rapidly in strength and then diminish and fall on itself. And that's where it just starts to lessen in strength. And that's where we're going to be throughout our afternoon, is a lot of these showers just collapsing and before we even get a good look at it. So this was about 5:30 where we were getting a good view. Now at 6 o'clock, not even there. So showers few and far to come by. Few and hard to come by? Hard to come by. There's what I was trying to say. Winona, 87 degrees. You're getting some of that cloud debris there in the distance as we take a look out west there into the Mississippi Delta. A lot of dark clouds at the base, but whenever you get that wispy look up top, shows you that we're not really seeing anything increasing in coverage. So let's go ahead and get a look at what we're seeing there on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. And you might notice, well, there is Holly Springs, active as ever with that shower, should I say thunderstorm, developing right over the top of I-22. Some of those having some decent hail cores as well. I'm actually going to need to swap the radar sites over there towards our Memphis radar to get a better view. And I will say southwest of Holly Springs, that is a healthy hail core right there. So let me get a split on this real quick. We're going to take this 3D mode, and I am going to, bear with me one moment. I'm going to make it to where we are on the ground. Perks of having 3D. There's some perks and there are some downfalls, but I think that this will help us get a better assessment of this. So there's your hail core right there. And as we move it past, you're seeing about 20,000 feet where those darker blacks and purples are showing up. So that's a decent hail core right there. And when it was the same length, this is a big reason why we say submit your weather watcher pictures, because we'll see coming up in our next block that we did get some pictures out of Holly Springs, and the hail core was again about 20 to 25,000 feet, and it produced about nickel-sized hail. So I would say for folks that are right along Highway 4, and we'll assess the region that it's in a second, because 3D mode, it's kind of hard to get a visual. But for folks that are in this hail hail core, probably getting about nickel-sized hail right now. So that's right under that severe weather threshold. So we are keeping eyes on this storm as it's one of our healthier storms, especially as that has now merged with a storm to its north. So let's go take this back to our home view. I apologize for that kind of headache view right there. We're going to zoom back into Holly Springs and get a look right there. So again, that's going to be for folks just outside of Highway 4 on the northwest side around the Marianna area. So as we look at the storm movement on this, we'll take it about 1 hour so we can get a 1 hour loop on this. You see how right there, right when it was at the Highway 4 and Highway 7 intersection, how we had those blacks and purples popping up? Well, we're getting those same things over there towards Marianna, moving into that more westerly motion. That's the thing about the storm. It's not moving that southwest motion like we talked about, kind of building north and to the west. And so we're expecting that hail core to move through Marianna, Orion, and on there towards the Rock Hill and Wakefield area if this were to hold together. A big reason why it's basically increased in strength once again is if I expanded out one scan right there, we can see how these two storms come together. And earlier, whenever it increased in strength, I know this is a lot of meteorology here, so I apologize for giving you a headache with this. You have this outflow boundary that expanded off that one there towards Panola and Lafayette County. As that outflow boundary wrapped around, it got involved with this southerly storm, and that's why we got that hail core to develop. Well, now the outflow boundary is further away. You're getting that interaction with this storm towards the north, and those coming together, those converging together, basically produces a rapid increase in strength, and that's where we get some of that hail core to be produced. So that, of course, is going to be moving more in that westerly direction as it basically merges together, and expect Marianna to be included within that. Now, I'm going to take a step off screen. Don't be alarmed. We are going to be tracking this out there towards the west, and I can't do that from the monitor. I have to do it from over here at the computer. So as we drag this, we're going to take that and move it. And see, I almost want to take it southwest because I want to say that storm motion will prevail, but we're going to take it more west-southwest right there. So the Galena area, 611, Marianna, been mentioning you a lot, 614, Red Bank's closer to 614 as well. Let me make sure the speed on this is right. So I'm going to draw one more track here. We can't be too careful on this. And we'll take it about, 10 miles an hour is what I want it. So that's going to be Red Bank 616, Marianna by about 617. There's a better one. Tullahoma 619 or 629, sorry. Victoria 631, Orion by about 639, Warsaw 655, Wall Hill 658, and Watson by about 701. The thing is with this storm, we said cyclical, and that's exactly what it is. So is this going to hold together? That's what we're expecting for the immediate areas, talking about Marianna, but for folks that were on the 7 o'clock hour, not expecting it to hold together with its strength as it has that cyclical nature. Now, more could back build on this, but we are keeping eyes on that into the next hour or so. But hopefully it has diminished in strength because that hail core visible even from radar imagery as of 6:07. So keeping eyes on that. And if you do know anyone in the Holly Springs area, go ahead and let them know to submit a picture to us. That way we can get a good visual on this. Someone said Oxford camera. I wonder if they have changed the Oxford camera. I have to do this off screen. I might have to do this off screen. Okay, hang on one second. We're going to get it one way or another. Okay, let's go camera. Let's go Oxford. Let's make sure that is turned north. Should be. But yeah, I mean, there's the view on it. Getting those heavy downpours there on the north side of town. So that is looking north towards Marshall County, and there's your storm right there. So tough to get a visual look on the vertical development of this storm, but at least knowing that on the ground it is a heavy downpour, and it is going to be a decent downpour for the next several minutes as it moves closer to that Marianna area. Now, are we talking about severe weather? No. But are we talking about hail? Yes. And one of our weather watchers out in the field, Dalton, told us that he couldn't even get out of his car because it was so much heavy rainfall and hail coming down. So yeah, be on the safe side. Especially don't drive your vehicles into it because hail can be damaging to our vehicles. So we want to definitely be on the side of caution. But I mentioned heavy rainfall, and heavy rainfall definitely a big story with a lot of these showers and storms because where they develop, it's not going to be overly widespread. But for those areas that do get those showers and do get those thunderstorms, well, of course, heavy rainfall can be expected over a very small area. So that is 1.9 inches there towards Marshall County, 1.4 inches Calhoun County, 2.4 inches Tishomingo County, and 2.4 inches around the Itawamba County area. So that's basically what we're getting across North Mississippi. Several of those showers reaching into the Mississippi Delta. This is out of our Monroe County radar. And I put up the past 3 hours because that's where these storms have been developing. And I mean, 3 hours is not a long time frame. So as I put this up and then populated a few of these totals, 1.6 inches, 1.7 inches over about a 2-hour time frame. So these storms pack a punch over a short period of time, but unfortunately not for everybody. Main focus going to be Marshall County. So let's go ahead and expand this out on the surface analysis and kind of assess why we are seeing such an active pattern. Well, the reason why, and you do see a few severe thunderstorm warnings there, that's probably for some isolated hail development, and that's similar to what we're getting here in North Mississippi. The reason why we're getting this is because we are on the back end of a warm front, at least for folks out there towards Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. But down here, we're in the middle of a shear axis, which is basically two high pressure systems interacting with each other, and we're right in the middle of it, allowing for some of those showers and storms to be produced. So very sporadic development, not really uniform development. That's why it gets to be hard to predict some of those rain chances. We basically say 20%, but who's going to get that 20% remains to be seen. Here on model runs, and what has been pretty consistent over the past few model runs is at least out there in the Mississippi Delta getting a few of these showers and storms overnight. We've actually upped these percentages to about 20% into those overnight hours, and we are keeping eyes on that into that 3, 4, and 5 o'clock hour, especially as you can see building more towards the Greenville area, the Hollandale area as we enter into that morning commute. So for a large portion, folks in northeast Mississippi staying on the drier side, staying on the clear side, but out towards the southwest, a completely different forecast. So keeping eyes on that, and we'll of course track that in more detail coming up here in the next block along with some of your Weather Watcher pictures. Not too late to submit some of your Weather Watcher pictures. If you have any reports from Marshall County, that has really helped us in giving that information to the National Weather Service for them to better issue warnings with these storms into this evening and into the overnight hours, because we've already seen nickel-sized hail is possible with that storm in Marshall County. So that's what we expect until some higher development is seen. With these heights that we're seeing right now, 20 to 25,000 feet, nickel-sized hail has been what we expected because that's what we've actually gotten confirmed on the ground. Weather Watcher reports really help. We emphasize that a lot. Next 24, 20% all day long. Like we talked about, that 20% going to differ for a lot of folks. Where do we see that 20% happening? Well, we'll be tracking that here in more detail coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I mentioned tracking the tropics. We're also doing that as well as those extended chances of rainfall. We'll have everything in full detail coming up here in the next minute.
At Room to Room, did you know our specialty is custom ordered upholstery? Get the furniture you want and the fabric and color selection you want. With our free design service, we won't let you make a mistake.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team up.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love, your mind.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. We're going to start with some views outside all across North Mississippi, with our first one being there in Mabbinock, Tippahawk County, showcasing a lot of blue skies, a lot of clearing, and so fortunately for them, staying void of any hail or anything like that. But we jump northwest towards Cleveland, and things are a little bit of a different story. You're seeing some of those darker clouds on the horizon where showers and storms are developing, primarily over there towards Marshall County, not playing too much of an impact there towards Cleveland, but hey, anything is possible, especially as some of those back build through the rest of our evening and overnight hours. Edinburgh, 88 degrees right now, feeling like 90. That sunshine, you can see it getting through the horizon right there, so it's warming things up and making for a toasty afternoon for some. But I mentioned weather watchers out in the field, braving the storm, literally. Dalton submitting this picture, and as you can see, those hailstones, we're saying about nickel size because, yes, this is a little bit smaller than a nickel. There are other reports that are even larger than this, and by the time Dalton was able to get a hailstone, a little bit of melting had already taken place. So around nickel size is what we expect with this storm, even into the 6:14 hour. But this was a great shot of some of those hailstones developing and those spiky hailstones. I mean, this is a decent sized hailstone. I'm trying to figure out, because it's tough whenever there's not something that it's compared to. That's why we say put a coin up next to it or something like that to give us an idea of the size. Having a quarter even helps, even if it's not close to a quarter size, because it can at least let us know the general size of those hailstones. But I wouldn't be surprised if this was nickel, maybe even close to a quarter. But I mean, Amanda at Holly Springs, that is a scary sight, seeing that fall all the way to the ground. But a big thank you for stepping outside, grabbing the stone and submitting those pictures. And of course, you can do so still with our Mississippi Live Weather app. So let's go ahead and get into some of our radar analysis. And I'm going to actually swap it over here real quick to our analysis mode, because we have a storm over there in Marshall County that continues to catch our attention. This one towards the Holly Springs and Marianna area. The good thing for you, Marianna, I think it has weakened just a bit, because look at the hail core on this earlier on. I'm going to have to do a 3D mode to really show you, but you can already see some of those purples and blacks showing up. That's a decent lift on that storm. That is going to produce some, that's what we're talking about with that nickel-sized hail right over the top of folks just outside of Holly Springs. So let's go ahead and take this into 3D mode, and I'm going to take this through that swath, and still about 20,000 feet on that hail core, and this was about 606. So if we jump to where we're at now, and I'm going to take it a little bit of a ways, we can see that this storm is collapsing on itself, barely reaching 10,000 feet. So compared to 10 minutes ago, definitely not anything close to what it once was. And the reason why, it doesn't have an outflow boundary to follow. It doesn't have another storm that's colliding into it. Without those two things, this storm would have weakened a while ago. But those two things have basically said, we're going to keep it going as long as we can. And it has done exactly that. So let me go back to home view right here, and we can do a storm track on that once again as it moves through Marshall County and Marianna. You're still going to get rainfall, but I mean, impacts probably not going to be anything like that nickel-sized hail like what we saw earlier. So let's do a storm track on this here real quick. I'm going to go back over the past hour, and you can see, I mean, those two storms colliding together. Still moving. Okay, it's got back to that southwest motion, so we were right whenever we were assessing that. So let's go ahead and draw this out. Move it about 10 miles an hour. Even 10, I mean, it just might be a little bit of a stretch. But Marianna close to about 624, Tullahoma 630, Orion by about 647, Watson Center 651, Tyro 703, Pierre 706, and Wall Hill closer to about 716. And that's really the only storm that we're watching. A lot of that down there towards Lafayette, Panola, and now Yalobusha County has since dissipated, and that's just producing some decent rainfall outputs. But when that's our only concern, that's not even a concern at that point, because we need rainfall, and we will take every drop that we can get. Down there towards Hollandale, that has since dissipated as well, so not tracking anything majorly concerning or majorly grabbing our attention. And so fortunately, I think that we are staying clear of that. This one there towards Conway in Arkansas, I want to just do a loop on this here real quick to kind of see how those are moving through the area. A lot of those still moving about that southwest motion. So fortunately, staying away from us here, because a lot of those have some decent cores. But what we're dealing with here will be storms there towards Marshall County, and models are saying that some of that will back build through the night as that continues to move through the Delta, so keeping eyes on that. We also have our severe threat right here, and as we look earlier, I mean, you can see some of those deeper blues. No surprise there that we got some of that nickel-sized hail. That was whenever we got the report. That was there towards Gilton and Holly Springs, and I mean, if we populate in some of that 2-inch hail, so a lot of that is making it to the surface. Let's see, a nickel is about, is that 3/4 of an inch, half of an inch, something like that. And so hail about that size, I mean, you can see it melting on its way to the surface. So whenever we keep this going, and again, this is something that helps National Weather Service assess how to warn these storms going forward, even though it still had a decent core at what, was it 606? Let me drag it out to that. 606, you can see some of those same dark blues showing up with that same 2-inch hail. So the fact that we're getting that same return means that we could be getting some more of that nickel-sized hail. So kind of a cool thing that shows why your reports are important. And of course, the National Weather Service appreciates that as well as we get some of those storm reports in. Now, expanding things out, we can definitely see that we have been relatively tame. A lot of that activity just producing heavy rainfall. We did have some wind damage over there towards the Crenshaw area. Crenshaw Elementary had some minor roof damage to roof covering at the abandoned Crenshaw Elementary. My apologies right there. That was from this morning at 6:30 a.m. So starting the day off with a bang. Well, we did exactly that here in North Mississippi, but since then just been exactly what we needed with some of that rainfall moving through the area. So let's get back into Futurecast here. 7 o'clock. There's your look at some of your showers. I mean, 7 o'clock, nearly on the money with some of that development as it continues to move through Marshall County. So better assessing some of those storms. That, of course, building more and more towards the Tennessee state line and even out there towards Lafayette and Panola County. So keeping eyes on that. Our 10 o'clock broadcast is going to be busy if that continues to verify, and we expect it to. Models doing relatively well at forecasting some of that. 2 a.m., a lot of that dissipating out and will remain calm for a couple of hours overnight. And then we get into 5 and 6 o'clock, and some of those build back there towards Hollandale and Belzona, Greenwood, Indianola, getting some of those showers. So much needed rainfall out there in the Delta, and they are getting exactly that. Hey guys, share the love. We need some rainfall all across North Mississippi. Low temperatures, 67 Houston, Amory, 67 towards Grenada. Where we're getting those showers, 69 Cleveland, Greenwood, 71 towards Greenville. So slightly muggier or slightly milder than what we'll be having on the northeast side of the area, but that's what happens when you have rainfall and cloud cover and then clear skies on the other hand. So your school day forecast, 67 degrees at drop-off, 85 lunch, and 91 towards the last bell. Isolated showers lingering throughout the day, so keep that rain gear around. But for a lot of us, you may not have to need it. And that's the thing with this forecast, is it's not exactly a uniform distribution. It's really hard to forecast the exact areas that are going to be seeing it. So we kind of just take this overall judgment right there. 7:30 a.m. Mississippi Delta, best chances of seeing some of those showers developing. But by the time we get into the rest of our day, you can watch how this builds a little bit more towards the east, especially back there towards, early afternoon and mid-afternoon right there. So still seeing some of those showers out there towards Grenada and Winona. And then we get into that 3 o'clock hour, and those start to produce a little bit more towards Lee, Union, Marshall, Tippah, and Benton County. Those, of course, continue to move south, southwest once again, and we'll see that development continue to linger even into that 6 o'clock hour on our Tuesday. So looking at rainfall totals, if we take this out, this is that same model run. We're talking 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, best case scenario throughout the overnight hours. And then moving into tomorrow afternoon, you're definitely seeing some of those produce about 1/2 of an inch to an inch in some isolated locations, a result of some of that heavier rainfall that happens. Storms are not fast movers, and so wherever they develop with some of that heavier rainfall, it does not take but a short time to get some decent rainfall outputs. Those, of course, scatter development even as far east as Houston there. So we'll take it, but definitely need a little bit more. So into our Tuesday evening, you do see some of those showers linger, but overall, we're going to be in a much calmer pattern than what we have sat in for the past few hours. Wednesday morning, waking up to a few showers there towards northwest Alabama, but overall, our chances here in northeast Mississippi or North Mississippi altogether, pretty low. And so 9, 10, 11 a.m., still those chances pushing out there towards Alabama, but some of that sporadic development trying to push back into North Mississippi. So at least expecting a few of those showers moving back into our area for Wednesday afternoon and for your Wednesday evening. So overnight into your Thursday, drier conditions persist. But the thing with this rainfall output, and I put this up here to explain something, a lot of the chances are primarily shown out there towards Pickens, Noxubee, and Lowndes County. So of course the Weather Prediction Center would put this graphic where it is. I do want to say this does not tell the complete story, because a lot of those showers wrapping around will get well into North Mississippi, producing well over 1/100 of an inch. So we expect more rainfall than what this is showing. So don't be alarmed by this graphic if you see it on our 24/7 live stream or anything like that. We're expecting more than this for our Wednesday, and that's a benefit for us. Again, we hope for rainfall at this point with how dry things have been. Now Thursday, that is going to be your driest day, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rain chances start to build, and our best chances of seeing rainfall Saturday and Sunday. I mean, you can see it right here on our forecasted rainfall, how a lot of that producing about 1/4 of an inch over the next 7 days in a lot of locations. So we are expecting better chances of rainfall into the next several days. Of course, not in the heart of the rainfall. We're kind of on the outskirts of it, with a large part of that rainfall happening towards Oklahoma, Arkansas, even up there towards Missouri and Kansas. So unfortunately, it can always be more, but we'll take what we can get at this point. 20% coverage, like I mentioned, all throughout your Tuesday. 67 at the start, 88 by noon, and 92 towards the afternoon. Wednesday, isolated chances do linger in that forecast, and then Thursday, I give a little sneak peek of what to expect later. You didn't see that. But then Thursday, much drier conditions. Of course, that'll allow some of those temperatures to build. 94 degrees Thursday afternoon, and then into your weekend, 93 Friday, 91 Saturday, and then cooling off into the upper 80s by Sunday and Monday next week. Guys, we are only about a week away from fall. Who's excited? I know I am. So we're definitely tracking that weather pattern of when fall fully moves into the forecast, and we'll have latest details on that coming up here in the next minute, as well as tracking the tropics. You saw it a second ago. Don't tell anybody, but you saw it a second ago, and we'll walk through that forecast in more detail coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Keep it here for the very latest.
Harvey's Curbside to Go means you can experience quality anywhere. Call in and pick it up on your way home without leaving your car. No cooking, no cleaning, just dinner. Harvey's, a difference you can taste.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
So tropics are kind of in the peak of things right now, and we expect more development to be happening as we wrap up September and push into October. Well, here's the one tropical disturbance that we're watching. Out in the Atlantic right now, off the coast of South America, has a 90% chance of development over the next 7 days. Over the next 48 hours, 50%. So those chances are climbing as we get into this week. And honestly, would not be surprised if we have our next named storm, which I believe is Gabrielle. So, you know, this is close to my heart because my name is as close as it's been to a tropical storm altogether. So water vapor imagery definitely shows that this storm is trying to organize just a bit. Some of that moisture able to get into this system. So we're not talking about that drier air fully infiltrating the storm and completely collapsing it. So we do expect this to continue to build into the next 24, 48, and even 72 hours before that does mature into a more well-defined storm. So here's a look. This is the jet stream showcasing some of that vertical development by 6 p.m. on your Tuesday. Let's carry that over through the Atlantic, and you can definitely see where the storm is. I mean, where we're trying to wrap around is right here on the northeast side of South America. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Let's keep this going. Thursday into that 6 p.m. hour, and still looks a little bit disorganized. That's why I say, I mean, this is going to be an extended forecast before we see this really mature into a better storm. Friday at 6 p.m. We saw it try to mature for a second there, but then it starts to weaken out just a bit. I'm wondering if some of that drier air does try to infiltrate it by this point, but that doesn't last forever. Watch how it gets into Saturday and Sunday and gets into a more mature storm with some of those blues popping up. That's where we're getting some of those stronger wind speeds and at least wrapping around into what could be a tropical storm, could be a named storm as of this point with Category 1 hurricane, definitely a realistic possibility. But luckily, watch this. Sunday, Monday, even into Tuesday, starts to move north and then northeast, away from the United States, away from North Mississippi, no effects expected. And so luckily, at least on that long-range forecast, we're not expecting any immediate effects from this storm if it were to continue to produce this strength and then carried off there towards the northeast, far away from us here in the central United States. So that's been the theme this hurricane season. We have avoided a lot of the activity as it's basically turned north in that same general area there in the western Atlantic, and same thing for this storm. But let's go ahead and get into our forecast, because one of the things that I'm watching here, September 24th, which would be on that Wednesday. Let me make sure this goes a little bit more towards us. I might have to drag it in. Watch right here. So this is what we have right here, which will be a low pressure center along with the frontal boundary that starts to push through the region and carry out some showers possible by Thursday. And then, of course, some cooler air behind it, especially as we enter more of that ridging pattern right there, which will actually blow in some of that northerly winds and hopefully cool us off by the time we get towards that September 26th, 27th, somewhere around that time frame. And you can see some of those winds returning right there. And so we're fingers crossed on that as it carries out a lot of that moisture towards the Atlantic coast. And then we're left in that ridge with a few pop-up showers possible, and of course that cooler air. So keeping eyes on that, and we will definitely take that whenever we're tracking that extended forecast, especially because it means that no tropical development is going to affect our area We'll take it. But for this evening, I know it doesn't say 10% right there, but still around 10% coverage around 7, 20 by 10, and 20 by 1. That's the extent of our rain chances. About 20% could be on the climb for our Tuesday. We'll, of course, have the latest details with that latest model run coming up tonight at 10. All the more reason to stay tuned here to Mississippi Live Weather. But other than that, those isolated showers primarily in the Mississippi Delta tonight. And so we want you guys to stay dry and stay informed. And we are not expecting anything severe. So fortunately, you guys will be on the safe side with that. Now, one of the ways to track those showers, Mississippi Live Weather app, go ahead and scan the QR codes on your screen to download the latest version of our app right now. Has live radar. It has that hourly forecast. It actually has pinpoint accuracy, which we did get an email earlier that was asking about rain percentages. And you might see it say 20% on your screen. Well, what exactly does 20% mean? Well, it's 20% of an area over a set given time. So for our 7-day, it's talking about the entire area of North Mississippi over that 24-hour threshold for your Monday, for your Tuesday, for your Wednesday. So 20% coverage basically means that there will be a 20% chance of rainfall over that 24-hour span for the entire area of North Mississippi for your Tuesday. That's general speaking. But then you get pinpoint accuracy with the Mississippi Live Weather app. Helps better assess some of those percentages for your specific location. So that's the good thing about having the app is it's more of a forecast for what you need, where you're at, and does a better idea with handling that rather than the overall broad view of North Mississippi like we like to assess here. Now, we will break down those showers and, of course, where we expect them to form, but that gives you real-time estimates on those chances. So hopefully you guys have the app, and hopefully a lot of you guys are watching on here, but I wanted to address some of those concerns that we got an email about. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to send it to us, info at msliveweather.com, and we will try to answer those, as many of those as possible, so that way you guys can stay as informed and as aware for any of these storms that do develop overnight. So, of course, our next broadcast, like I mentioned, happening tonight at 10, so make sure to have that app downloaded by then to get the very latest information. And like I said, we'll be running through those latest model runs, and we expect showers tomorrow morning, so that's all the more reason to tune into Mississippi Live Weather at 6:37 and 7:30 with meteorologist Maggie McCauley as she goes through some of those showers in real time and gives you everything you need to know on rain chances for your Tuesday. We hope you guys have a fantastic evening. Stay dry if you're over there towards Marshall County, and of course, we'll see you back here tonight at 10.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.